Hello and welcome to IMI Insights, the podcast series where our faculty decode the ideas that are driving businesses today. In this episode, we explore a vibrant and vital sector, the orange economy. It encompasses industries which are cultural and creative, such as films, design, music, digital content creation, and more. The question we are asking today is what does talent management look like in an industry as creative as this, especially when the traditional playbook of HR does not quite apply? And to explore the changing dynamics of human management in this sector, we are joined today by Professor Mamta Mohapatra, who is a professor of OB and HR at IMI Delhi. Welcome, ma'am. So
Thank
to
you. Thank you, Farhana, for having me here.
right.
Yeah.
So to begin, when I read the article, I didn't quite know what orange economy is. So for all of us to understand, can you define orange economy and why is it gaining prominence at this point?
Absolutely. So, you have in the introduction itself spoken or given a little bit of idea as to what this industry entails. But then I'll talk about the genesis of this term very briefly.
Sure.
So, this term is not very academically well known. But in 2013, two people, Beatrigo and Duke, they used or coined this term to describe the creative economy of Latin America and Caribbean region. So it's been quite some time.
Yes.
And in India, why are we talking about it now? But I'll talk about the why it's gaining prominence in India now. But to explain this concept a little more, Orange economy, they explained why this term was necessary because there was a lot of overlaps, a lot of confusion when you are trying to describe culture and its contribution to the economy.
Right.
So there are confusing terms like leisure industry, the entertainment industry, the creative industry. So
Yeah.
there are so many terms and overlaps. So to explain all of that, they said that okay, let's. They coined this term known as orange economy, and it entails, like you said, films, art, music, the entire creative spectrum. And in India, why are we talking about it now? Because only, on 1st of May, I came across this when Prime Minister Narendra Modi, he addressed the WAVES
Right.
Summit. So WAVES stand for World Audio Visual and Entertainment Summit in Mumbai.
Okay.
So he, for the first time, said that it is the dawn of the orange economy in India now. Now, why did he say this? And he explained it through three C's. And those three C's are content, creativity, and culture. So he says these are the three pillars. And in India, we have immense potential because India today is becoming the hub of, the digital, in the digital space. There are so many live concerts, and there was a
Yes.
recent one in Delhi. So, in the music field, Indian film industry is very, Bollywood is well known and is second to the industry, like after Hollywood. So it's huge potential in graphic designing, gaming area.
Absolutely.
So that's why he said that we can contribute in this space quite a bit. And to support or his argument through statistics, I'll quote a few uh, stats here. So when we look at the world, the creative economy or the orange economy contributes about 3.1%. And if you look at India, the prediction is by 2030, we are going to, the GDP contribution of the orange economy or the creative industries is going to be 10%.
That's quite a
10%,
huge,
quite
yes.
huge. So 10% to GDP.
Yeah.
So that means quite a lot. That's why this thrust. So and it gives employment to about 8%.
Right.
So these figures speak a lot, and that is why so much of importance being given to this sector. And in India, if we say or we see that culturally we are very rich.
Absolutely.
So, and we are a very populous country. So, so whatever we do, it scales up to a huge figure. So, in India today, if you see that the creative sector, when it comes to media, social media, or the space of music, film. So, and when these two people described or coined the terminology orange economy, why did they call it orange?
Yeah, that's. I was about to ask you that.
Yeah.
Why the particular
Yeah.
orange?
So we have some Indian background over there. So they
Okay.
studied uh, Egypt, Indian, and Native American cultures. So, and in these cultures, orange has a predominance. Like when we are talking about culture or creativity, generally the color orange is associated with it. So that's why it's called the orange economy. And talking about the potential in India, I think you might be aware that every 50 kilometers that we travel, the dialect changes.
Yes.
So imagine we have
That many
around 1400 or
yes.
more dialects. So the same Hindi spoken in a different, dialect after 50 kilometers. So again, why I'm talking about this is this has huge potential. Like people today in India, I think there are 1 billion internet and smartphone users. So, and we are not talking just about metros or cities. This penetration is to rural areas. So that gives the entire populace huge, opportunity uh, to showcase their talent. So that is why you see YouTube and Insta, all
Yes.
these platforms, people, now that Kacha Badam. How did it become so famous?
Yes.
Like it got an international, it became viral, and
Yeah.
it got an international flavor. Every country they were trying to, use that dialect or tune. So that's the potential, and of course it generates huge employment. So these are the factors which combine, and that's why the prime minister maybe gave it a thrust. And when we talk about in that summit, he said a very interesting, or he launched a very interesting slogan as well. Already the government is talking about Make in India.
Yes.
So when we talk about Make in India, it's manufacturing, and when we think of manufacturing, it's machinery, capital, other resources,
basically.
products. But here, it's a different kind of creation that we are talking about. So he said the slogan he generated was "Create in India, create for the world."
Oh, that's very interesting.
Yeah.
And I think that's where we already headed in a way.
Yeah, yeah.
So,
So,
you know,
yes.
what I want to understand is then, of course, the article also talks a lot about HR's role in this economy, in this sector. So, what makes HR very, vital to this sort of let's say, the progress of this sector?
So, very interesting and apt question. So, when we think about HR, and here we are talking about human talent.
Right.
So, HR has a huge role to play, and a huge role as an enabler. So, when we are talking about an industry where, there are no defined roles, job descriptions, or, rigid boundaries, so HR has a unique role to play here. So, when we talk of HR, we talk about recruitment, hiring,
Yes.
selecting people, learning and development, the appraisal process, and adherence to laws and all those things. So here it's a very different kind of a role that HR has to adopt, and therefore not sticking to the traditional, role bound approach, but taking on a very flexible approach is what is required here.
Okay. So you've talked about the different, aspects that HR deals with. So the first aspect that you'd want to understand is about hiring, because this is not a very conventional sector, right? From what you've told me and what I can understand. So how does HR adapt to hiring in a sector like this?
Yeah, very interesting question. HR, and when it comes to hiring, here needs to take on the role of, like I said, an enabler. So hiring here would mean sourcing, first of all, the right kind of talent. And that talent sourcing sometimes becomes very difficult. So these are niche areas, and you have to tap resources which are untapped. So therefore, you need to be very creative in the way you are advertising for such posts, starting from attracting people to this area. And it's highly competitive as well because it's a creative field.
Yes.
So HR has to, in its approach, be a lot more flexible with the JDs, the
Yeah.
job descriptions, and here I think speed matters a lot because we are in a creative field. So if you delay, then that creativity is somewhere lost. So therefore, you have to be very fast in the entire cycle of hiring.
The hiring
So
process.
no, lengthy timelines and all that won't work.
So we're not really looking at a traditional sort of CV, but more of like portfolios where we can see the
Absolutely.
work
Absolutely.
and judge from that. So does any company or anything come to your mind when you think of, companies that have done this differently, that have gone the portfolio way and not done the traditional hiring process?
So, like Farhana, you mentioned earlier that in this creative space, when we look at the industries, which are the industries? So, we are looking at filmmaking, gaming, music,
Fashion design.
fashion design, research and development, software,
Right.
TV, radio, video,
All
social
of
media,
that.
all
So
of
many
that
different
space.
sectors.
So, if you look at like when it comes to specific examples, I'm reminded of the OTT platforms.
Right.
So Netflix or your TVF, and some of the very popular series that they have launched. I think Panchayat is one that I
That's what
got.
was coming to my mind the moment you said OTT.
Gullak, Panchayat.
Yes.
So you see the screenwriters and the editors, they have not been hired through the traditional, the communication or art schools that they have attended. So the background, if you see, they've been hired through unconventional sources like, competitions
Right.
and all those things, not the traditional way. If you look at Chumbak as a company, which is Chumbak, when we think of the products are so creative.
Yes.
And again, when you are hiring for Chumbak, they didn't go for traditional hiring, but they visited exhibitions.
Oh, okay. I
Yeah,
didn't know that. And that's very
yeah,
interesting.
and they went to such platforms where they could see the work. Insta, for they referred to Insta and creative communication or creative art designers over there, and they hired through that. So you see, companies or these creative platforms are also hiring creatively.
Yeah, so they're going
And
on the ground looking for locals.
absolutely. And Zomato and your Swiggy. So when you look at content writers or meme creators, so they are not being hired traditionally. Again, the Reddit, moderators.
Right.
So these are very new roles, and they are being hired through competitions. They are being hired through social media, crowdsourcing. So these are the ways that companies are, hiring in these
Yes.
creative sectors.
I think it's interesting because I have seen a lot of interviews and instances where people talk of, oh, I found this person on Instagram. I saw their post and I felt it was very creative. Like, I think there's this show called Severance, and the whole sequel, the intro sequel, is something that they saw on Instagram, and they invited the person to do that sequel for them. So I think that's a very creative and innovative way now to hire people in this sector.
Absolutely.
Right.
Absolutely.
So of course the hiring is getting creative. What about L&D? You know, we have these L&D sessions that traditional corporates do. So how does that work in this sector?
Again, you said it, that the traditional ways will not
Yeah.
work here. So again, you have to be very creative and offer personalized, hands-on, experiential training to these kinds of people, so that they are able to enhance their creative and innovative skills, and not the traditional form of training.
So talking about creative ways, you know, wherever appraisal season comes around, there's a lot of memes of how appraisal seasons happen and all of that in
Most
corporate.
dreaded.
Yes. But that's a very traditional way of appraising someone. Now in this field, how does HR go about managing this appraisal, and how do we look at it?
Again, a very good question. And here also you have to be like not depending on the annual reviews,
Yes.
the traditional way, but again, you have to be very subjective and not very objective. So not depend on those KPIs, KRAs, but depend on the kind of output that the person is coming up with, and evaluating that in a very subjective manner. So again, the traditional way will not work here. So you have to also be very helpful, create that kind of nurturing environment, so that if somebody is not doing well in a creative field, is comes up to the mark. And so it has to be very personalized and not follow the routine method of a form and check boxing or
Yes.
tick boxing.
One of the things is, of course, in this creative industry, your work is put out there for people to consume. So when we talk of, looking at performance appraisal in a sense, is it that other people are also contributing it? So the amount of likes that you get, the amount of people watching your content,
Absolutely.
all of that also comes into play, right?
Yeah. And here team also matters a
Yes.
lot. The team cohesion,
Right.
your compatibility with the team. So maybe individually your output, like here we have an entire team which is doing this
Yes.
video shoot.
Yes.
So it's a collaborative
Yeah,
effort. So
absolutely.
individually, how do you becomes difficult at times to evaluate individually. So a lot of thought has to go into
Yeah.
evaluating this kind of work.
So much like the sector, we are also sort of evolving and trying to figure out how to fit in this.
Absolutely.
Right. So, a lot of these people who work in these sectors might not be people who are sort of working for a single company, but it could be like freelancers. So, what does retention then look like in this kind of a scenario?
A very good question. And it sets one thinking that how do you retain people here. So a lot of them, like you said, are freelancers. So in an organization, when you are promoting freelancing, work from home, gig working, you have another set of people who are on your regular roles.
Yes.
So you have to be very careful.
Flexibility, I guess, is what you're looking at.
Flexibility and being sensitive towards the needs of both sets of people is very, very important.
In your article, there's this very interesting thing that you mentioned. You call HR being a culture curator in this sector. Can you elaborate that a little bit?
Culture curator, and I would say co-artist also.
Oh, right. That's very interesting.
Yeah, because again, we've already discussed that the traditional forms of HR
Yes.
management will not work here. So HR has to create that ecosystem where such people thrive and they are able to perform. So when we are talking about an enabling ecosystem, again, right from the beginning, when you hire a person, how do you onboard? Are you making that person comfortable? So, supposing I'm a freelancer or I'm a gig worker,
Right.
how do I belong? So, belongingness is something that you have to create, and you have to be innovative in the ways of, including this person. So, HR, that's why, is the culture curator. So, the set principles or the set rules will not apply here.
Yeah.
So, if you think of, being the uh, moral, like taking up the role of moral policing, or uh, you know checking those boxes that yes, compliance has happened and all those things, things may not work out.
Right.
So that's why you have to, that's why culture curator.
Yeah.
So you
That's
have to be
important.
innovative in your own, and you yourself are a co-artist, because you are also molding your ways of operating uh, to that of the needs of the person.
Right. So, an interesting thing that you had mentioned was also that India, if we look specifically at the Indian sector here, there's so many different cultures, dialects, and all of that happening. So, and one thing that, whenever you think of HR, one of the important things that they do in a company is also bring in diversity. And that has to go beyond surface level. So, in this sector, how do you think HR can sort of bring diversity without being it just like a surface level thing, and getting people from different backgrounds, cultures, and all of that to work together to create something?
A very good question, very critical question
Yeah.
as well, because when I mentioned that now people in remote areas also have the opportunity to become influencers.
Yes,
Yeah,
exactly. Like you gave
so
the example of that.
yeah, kacha
Yes.
badam and phrases like "Hey Prabhu," Jagannatha, and all those things. So people have gained global prominence
Yes.
by just 2-3 dialogues, or the dialect is so interesting that it catches attention. So what you're doing is creating a very different layer in the economy. So these people who were no one yesterday have become very important today.
Yeah.
And you are providing equal opportunity to all. So when it comes to diversity and inclusion and equity, so in a way you are providing through these platforms opportunity for everyone. So be it the gender, the
Cultural
yeah,
background.
cultural backgrounds, or your physical ability. You talk about any aspect of diversity, age, ethnicity. So everyone, has equal opportunity at least, and through their own merit, uh, they can, prove themselves. So it's a very good platform where DEI, is there in its full spectrum, and people get opportunity to showcase their work.
Yeah, so DEI actually is in practice when
Yeah,
you talk about this
absolutely.
sector, right? Of course, if we talk about anything now, we cannot leave out tech and AI.
Hmm.
So, how does tech and AI analytics work in this sector, especially for HR?
Again, very interesting. And it's a very contemporary issue as well.
Yes.
Not issue, I would say, but AI today, can be used in this sector in a very creative way. So when you talk of hiring, so use softwares where you can, tap that right talent. When you are providing them with personalized or experiential learning, again the use of tools and AI.
Right.
So when you are doing appraisals, you could do unbiased appraisals by using some software. So the entire gamut of HR activities can be, enabled through software and tools. So definitely AI is a huge enhancer in
Yeah.
this space.
You have to work along with it
Yeah,
in today's
absolutely.
time.
Yeah.
Right. So, one thing we've addressed that everything, like, okay, most of the work in this industry is in happening in groups or projects. Now, a lot of work that HR puts in traditional corporate setups is to make people feel like they belong to the organization. That sort of loyalty, if we may call it, to an organization is a key part of what HR tries to drive. But how does that work, especially in this sector when everything is project based, or your teammate is always changing, you're working with different groups? So how will HR address this in a situation here?
Again, a very good question. And that sets me thinking. So, when you're talking about loyalty, Farhana, here, uh, loyalty is no longer tenure.
Right.
But here, what works is trust.
So that's very interesting.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. And when you talk about engagement, it's not attendance only.
Right.
When we are talking about freelance, gig working, and that creative
Project-based sort
space, yeah. So it's alignment.
Right.
So alignment with the values of the organization, and how you make that person feel belonged.
So, clearly HR is adapting. They're doing all of it that they can, especially in an industry that's just coming up. But of course, there must be challenges. And in your view, what are like the biggest challenges that HR could face in this sector?
Yeah, again, it has set me thinking. So here we are talking about a sector again which is very unstructured, a sector where team working or collaborative work is very, very important, and where you need to give the person space. So again, I would say that creating that kind of ecosystem is challenging
Yes.
in itself. So challenges could be that, again, starting from hiring. Again, if you are rigid in your job specification or job description, that will not work. So a challenge is, how do you then tap that right resource through unconventional ways? So when it comes to like retention, how do you, like, these people are very moody. Creative people are.
The creative geniuses that we're talking about, yes.
So how do you, again, through your HR infrastructure, retain this person? Like, I give this example in my classes, that if you hire a A-class scientist, some organization has hired, and then you ask this person to punch in, punch out, and he asks for some material, you take 15 days to provide him with the necessary research material. What will happen to this person? Obviously, he'll be disgusted and he'll quit. So you see where, so the HR has to tweak its processes, policies, and adapt and become very flexible. So these are the challenges in front of HR. So again, it has to be the culture curator, the co-artist,
Yes.
and the enabler.
HR has a lot to do, and
Yeah.
especially for this
Very important.
orange economy
Very
to take
important.
off. Right.
Yeah.
This has been really interesting. So, just on a final note, I want to ask you, how do you envision HR's role in this sector, especially when we are projecting that there's going to be a 10% growth? So, obviously, HR has a lot to do in this. So, what do you envision it to be doing ultimately?
So HR, in the form that we are seeing in organizations now, already is changing. And when you refer to this sector, it has to, again, adapt, be flexible, and be futuristic.
Right.
So when we are talking about, say, earlier, we used to love watching a test match, cricket. Then we had the one day, then we have 20.
2020.
So the attention span of people, and what do you say, the patience and all those things, like are reducing. So similarly, organizations should start thinking that with the change of taste of people, with the way they are working, like recently I was writing a piece on Gen Z.
Yes.
And one of the characteristics of Gen Z is the construct was conscious unbossing.
Okay.
conscious unbossing. So Gen Z particularly doesn't like to become a boss.
Oh, that's
So
interesting.
consciously, they don't want to become bosses.
Right.
When asked why, or if you look at the characteristics, they don't want to like put in that emotional labor that you have to as a boss.
Mm-hmm.
They don't want to, be responsible for, making your team comfortable, or, being responsible for the output, quality of work. So they say that give us work where we can independently work, an independent project where
Mm-hmm.
I'm my own boss.
Right.
So when you're catering to this kind of a generation, you can't operate in the traditional way.
Right.
So that should set us thinking as HRs.
Mm-hmm.
So we are in for an entirely new way of
So
working.
not just a new sector that is upcoming, but also new generation of people
Yeah,
who
and
completely
catering to
function.
generational trends
Yeah. So HR has
mm,
a lot that it has to sort of
on its
change and
plate.
adapt.
Yeah,
Right. So thank you so much, ma'am. It's been
most
really
welcome.
interesting, and
Yeah.
I've learned a lot about HR and especially its role in the orange economy. Thank you.
Thank you. I really loved it. Thanks for the opportunity.